Hello everyone, Burb here. The Fine Motion and Current-Gen Wedding banner was just released, and I like to give a little bit of time in the spotlight to each character when they join the game. So today, I'd like to talk about the wedding variant of Fine Motion. I'm going to go over the banner real quick, and then I will get right into the character. The Fine Motion and Current-Gen banner is a double banner, so I'll give my usual disclaimer that your pity will be useful because if you like both characters, you will most likely pull one in that 200 and then pity the other, or get lucky and pull both of them. So if you have to go to 200, you have a good chance of getting both characters on the banner. So if you like both characters, it increases the value. If you are a Fine Motion player or Fine Motion Oshi player, and you need a little bit more validation, what you are sacrificing in this variant of Fine Motion is basically Speed Star, as well as the gamble for the downhill on certain downhill tracks, and in exchange you get a very consistent mile character that is pretty much good on every single mile track and still has use in other track rolls because of the way of her ultimate works. We're going to get into that right now, so without further ado, let's begin. Fine Motion's Aptitudes, as always, are very flexible. She can run in any distance. Besides, sprint is a little bit more difficult. You have to get a good pink spark in order to get there. Otherwise, Mile A, Medium A, Long C is perfect for Track Blazer. She's not really Dirt Horse with Dirt G, and she can run in all four strategies, although getting a sprint on one of these four strategies is quite difficult in and of itself. So as long as you're not really doing that, you should be able to flex her in any of the four rolls or flex her in any of the four distances. And this is the same as regular Fine Motion. Her stat bonuses this time are a 20% wit, 10% guts character, which is incredibly powerful. You're pretty much going to max wit if you go 2 wit no matter what you do. However, a lot of times your speed and power is very difficult if you do not have particular parents and you get lucky during the run, especially while guts maxing. This, I think, really pushes you towards a single wit build in this current Champions meeting cycle, because you will sacrifice a little bit of wit, but you will be likely above 1,000 if not 1,100 wit while using that extra card slot to normalize your speed, which is probably your biggest issue, is hitting that 1,200 speed, because you don't necessarily want to run speed sparks in a guts deck because you hypothetically have 6 cards that go and help you with your speed. So I think in the current guts build, you go solo wit as well as 5 cards that give you good stats. If you're going speed, power, wit, you can go double wit, or you can swap out that last wit card for a stamina card, or swap one of the other cards out for a stamina card in the longs as well. She's very flexible, and I think that going down to solo wit's going to help a lot too, because you can't use Fine Motion SSR on her, which is one of the best wit card stat sticks in the game. So that 20% wit bonus should help immensely. Her ultimate is called Best Day Ever, and the game describes it as such. If well positioned late race on the final corner or later, increase velocity. If there's a large distance left to the finish, also increase acceleration very slightly with perfect form. This is a very long ultimate because it has multiple triggers and multiple variants. However, it is actually rather simple to explain. First of all, you have to be in the late race or later, the late race or the final spurt. That is anytime after the spurt happens. Also, you have to be on the final corner or later. Now, on mile tracks, this will not matter because the final corner is always in or before the spurt actually starts. On tracks that are later, like 1900 meter or longer, you will start to see that the final corner slowly goes and pulls away from the spurt. So hypothetically, Fine Motion's first timing ult will be late on longer tracks. Normally, though, you're probably running her on mile, so you most likely will have a possibility of a perfect proc ultimate, but this is a hybrid ultimate, as you're going to see, so it kind of doesn't really matter when it procs. Otherwise, you basically need to be between second place and fourth place. Anywhere in between these two, you will be able to proc your ultimate, and it will proc on the first timing that this is available to you. You can pass into this late as well because it is final corner or later, and it is anytime in the late race, so it is not a snapshot ultimate, so it has use even if it does late proc, okay? The final thing that exists is just when you proc your ultimate, how much distance is left in the race. If there's more than 400 meters left in the race, then you get a little bit of a bonus. What does this mean? It means on pretty much every map except for a 1200 meter or shorter, you will have a chance of getting the alternate version of this ultimate, or the primary version I should say, and usually there will be like a sweet spot in between the spurt and 400 meters where you will get this alternate version, which is in a bonus 0.1 acceleration. This 0.1 acceleration is weaker than a normal acceleration ultimate like Nishino Flower is the notable one. However, this is a hybrid ultimate that also gives you speed. So if it procs late, it will still give you 0.35 for 5 seconds. To put this in perspective, it is, again, 77% of a Tripulse, which Oguri Cap Ultimate is one of the best late race ultimates in the game, if not the best late race ultimate in the game. And so being 80% of a Tripulse is not the worst thing in the world, and you have upside. Now the Inherit gets shredded a little bit. It gets cut in half for the acceleration, and the target speed is just a white skill, but it does have a little bit of upside. But knowing from the people like Special Week, you don't generally necessarily need to really seek out inherits for ultimates that are these hybrid 0.05s, 0.15s. They're just kind of there. This condition is not too difficult to hit, so you might grab it as a white skill like we're grabbing just standard 0.15 late races after our different skills themselves. Okay, trying to think if there's anything else with the ultimate I need to talk about. I think it's pretty simple to understand. In mile tracks in particular, you're going to go and probably proc the acceleration if you're procking a Nishino ultimate. The point of this ultimate in general is that because it's hybrid, Cygames designed this to be that this ultimate really gives you something no matter when it procs. On a mile track, if you proc it early, you're within range, hopefully, of Nishino Flower ultimate. You hit the 0.3 instead of the 0.2, and maybe you get a little bit of speed leak at the end because it takes you less than 5 seconds to go to max speed. If you proc it late, you still get value because you have a 0.35 speed ultimate. So for once, they made a mile character that is basically a late race ultimate that if it procs early, you don't completely lose it by it being eaten by the acceleration zone because it has an acceleration component itself. I want to talk about the careers after I grab a drink of water. If you've never done a fine motion career, and I'm sure a lot of you haven't because it is Trackblazer, when the career is enabled outside of Trackblazer, she has a stand-up medium career, except for one very particular thing that becomes really complicated, and that the Tennosho Autumn is determined by whatever choice you choose in the early race, basically. This event comes up pretty quickly, you choose it, and then there you go, you have a option. You can choose either the Tennosho Autumn, the Queen Elizabeth Cup, the Mile Championship, or the Arima Keenan as your final race in your career. And you get different rewards for it. Now, you get the same stats and skill points, but you're basically choosing which bonus skill do you want. If you choose the Tennosho Autumn, you get up tempo. If you choose the QE2, you get straight descent. If you get the Mile CH, you get updrafters. And if you choose the Arima Keenan, which is the long race, you get Pref Pro, which is preferred position, and head on. On the other fine motion, a lot of times if you didn't have head on, you'd probably just would take the head on. But now, for a reason that she has head on in kit, it gets rather interesting because you can now on miles grab updrafters if you want, and on descent maps you can grab straight descent as well. So this decision is a lot weirder outside of Trackblazer, of course, now that she has head on in kit, which we will talk about. You also have 2 secret events as well, where if you win the Superior Keenan with End Closer, you get standing by as a bonus as well. Finally, you can still do the Arima Keenan even if you don't choose it. You do not get head on, but you still get preferred position and standard race rewards. Her regular events, the one that is still enabled is her costume event, which is Mile Straightaways. Mile Straightaways is another mile skill that is good on mile tracks, of course. Her character events, which are both disabled in Trackblazer, you have an additional cafeteria event, which you can choose the energy, or if you want, you can go and just get 3 hints in All I've Got, which is an incredibly good late race medium skill because it is basically baby Tripulse. It always gives you value no matter what, and it's a very good final straight skill basically on it. Pace Chaser Corners can be grabbed from her choice event, which I believe is also disabled because it is not the first character event, and pretty much all the character events are disabled, but that one may exist, but I think they just gave her Mile Straightaways for Trackblazer. Her innate skills are Mile Corner, fall runners, and firm conditions. And you can kind of see the theme here. We're looking at more mile skills. Firm conditions for the next champions meeting is pretty good. Mile corners is of course good on miles, and it's not fine motion without fall runner. Her gold skills are where it really gets interesting, because instead of straight descent and speed star, you instead have changing gears and neck and neck. Changing gears is shifting gears, which is a mile mid-race skill that can be at any point of the mid-race. It can just decide to proc. Sorry. Changing gears. No. This is the one that if you pass somebody, you're going to get it. So they should proc early. It's a very good mid-race skill for the mile CMs. Neck and neck is head-on gold. Now, head-on is very, very good on shorter tracks, and it kind of falls off on longer tracks. It does not necessarily be locked to mile. It is a pace chaser skill, but you can see in shorter tracks, stuff like on your lefts like this as well, the gambling accelerations like neck and neck go and they lose their value slower over time. Basically because this distance is shorter. So if you basically look here, this is like 1100 meters to like 1300 meters, so 200 meters. Now this is like 2300 meters to 2450 meters. This basically is the same graph as this. It's just that when you have a longer track, you have a very large dead zone at the end of it, because the late race is longer on longer tracks. So the shorter the track is, the better these gambling skills are. So basically, if it isn't obvious enough, this is the mile version of Fine Mo, because she gives you mile straightaways, mile corners, neck and neck, changing gears. Her ultimate, it works on miles no matter when it procs, and now you don't have to take the head-on hint from the Ray McKinnon. You don't really have a choice there. You don't ever really need it. You can instead use that one and go for the mile CH instead and grab updrafters. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skills with 2 golds and 1 including her ultimate. So basically 3 golds and 3 whites that are all saying, hey, run this character on miles. And here I am to tell you, she's good on miles and she can work in other roles or in other distances as well. But on the next CM, how you build her, because she was not included in the Pace Chaser guide, is you grab these skills. There you go. You grab these skills, and there you are. You have a fine motion that's going to be good on this track. You obviously go and you still put Nishino Flower Alt on her, and you go and try to add more mid-race and stuff that, I mean, you may not take full head-on if you have other options, but this Gambling Excel works as your secondary acceleration in Champions Meeting. When we start to get into Champions Meetings that are not on mile, her ultimate will start to late proc more and more, so you don't really care about the acceleration as much. So it's just a 0.355 seconds. It's perfectly fine. And for tracks that are further and further beyond, it's the same thing. If it's shorter track duration, her ultimate matters more. Neck and neck matters more. You obviously have the gold skill, and if it's not, she still works. She just doesn't give you as much. Fine motion alt don't really care what track and what role they get. They're just going to give you something no matter when it procs, no matter what track it is. And you can run her end closer, you can run her pace chaser, you can even try her late surger if you really want to for some reason. And it's going to work because eventually you're going to be within the 2 to 4 range. It's going to be later if you're an end closer, but then it's just a late race speed skill. If you're a pace chaser, you're hoping to hit Nishino Flower ultimate and you're right there immediately. So that's kind of the basis of fine motion, is that, hey, you're going to get value from whatever you do. You're going to have a chance of hitting on this character no matter where she is. Her affinity is nothing special. It's 24 to 26 range. Daiwa Scarlet's is the highest affinity at 26. And Measure McQueen's probably the most notable because a lot of pace chasers like putting McQueen ultimate on. But you have Digiton and Tosin Jordan as well. And then it starts to drop off a little bit from there. But most characters are within the 15 to 20 range with her. So it's not the greatest parenting in the world. So in conclusion, fine motion. They kind of built her to be the mile counterpart to regular fine motion. Obviously, both of them work on different tracks. They're on the same tracks. They do different things. Fine motion is more of a gambler. Wedding version is more of a gambler. And regular fine motion is sort of leaning on Speed Star in the miles to go and do that speed carryover and use other accelerations to go there. So they kind of built her this way as the alternate way of winning the race. So yes, this mile version of fine motion, I like to compare a little bit with vodka. Mostly because they're both mile horses, but also because Vodka has that gold updrafters in Furious Feet. You have the gold head on, so you're not searching for the gambling acceleration. That's kind of your way to get your secondary acceleration, is you have it in kit, so you just focus on the primary things. You grab your mid race, you grab your late race. Vodka, you just grab more mid race, and your ultimate goes and procs in the late race. So you sort of have, I guess, a Italian and Japanese ramen fusion thing going on. Whatever. I'm sure they cook things just fine. There's also a soft spot I have for this character, and probably why I'll be daily pulling on this banner, because this was the original Way Too In-Depth guide. It's available as probably a card I'll put here. It's not the greatest guide in the world, but it was the first one, and this is the first character I think that has a variant that I did the original guide to. So I actually quite like this character, and I don't actually have this character on my account at all. So hopefully, I'm not going to pull heavily for it, but I will daily pull for her myself. So I like Fine Motion a lot. She's quite a good character when she's not in the card form. So take care, everyone. Burb out.